This conference will now be recorded.
Okay.
Okay. In the interest of efficiency, I'll skip the chairman's comments for the Audit and Finance Committee meeting. The minutes for the February 1st meeting were distributed for review. I'm looking for a motion to approve those, unless anybody has any commentary or question.
So moved. Second.
Thank you, Dave. Thank you, Jeff. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed or questions? No. Thank you. Payment of bills. You have the list of the bills in the packet. I don't know if you, if the office staff would like to comment on any. I don't see any that are extraordinary. The Barton and, I don't even know how to say it last. LeJuice. EDA grant admin. That's,
Yeah.
and that is that a one-time fee?
That's our second bill from them.
Or how do they bill? I'm just curious.
They bill by hours
Oh,
that
okay.
they work on it.
Okay.
And I think there's a set, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Is that gonna come in monthly? I think is that where you're going with that?
Yeah, we're gonna see
Okay.
this over a period of time as long as they're working on
Yep,
the
yep.
grant application. So. Any other questions on the bills? I have a motion to pay the bills.
Remote?
Second.
Second, thank you. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you. You also have a listing of the deposits on the back of the bills that we just approved for payment, just for informational purposes. Any questions there or comments from the staff?
We had mentioned Klugo's before. We hadn't got their admin fees. They did send everything, so we're all caught up with that. They sent it to the county.
That's literally three years, 20,
Yep.
21, 22.
Yep.
Good, excellent.
Correct.
Good.
Say it again, that they sent it to the county?
They sent it to the county, and then the county treasurer's office called us. They had to send it back and reissue it because it was made out to the county. So.
You're lucky to get it.
Yeah. True.
Well, that's good. So was that something that was late and he paid in one payment and just sent it to the wrong
Yeah, it was
place?
2 checks, but yeah, he sent it in.
Okay, good. Glad we got caught off. Review of financials. Do you have any commentary on the financial statements or the budget?
No, it's pretty consistent with the regular spring. Didn't use as much money as.
Any major changes with any of the projected rent or any discussions with clients that would indicate any major changes coming that we should be aware of? No. Okay,
Pretty consistent with our budget right
great.
And Jim's reports all have January and February on there since we didn't have a January board meeting. And when he did come in January, he was just closing out the year. So
Right.
he put both months on it for you guys.
Any other thoughts, questions, comments? Okay, great. New and unfinished business.
A couple of quick things that came up. One is they started the audit.
Oh, yeah.
One of the drawbacks to starting this late is that she said that she's going to try and have the audit in my hands by the end of the month. Unfortunately, that doesn't do me any good to submit our parents' reports because the board has to review that audit before I can certify that thing. So we're going to be late on parents' reports.
What's the due date? That's at the end of March. Okay.
Doing a special
I was gonna say, yeah.
meeting just to go through and review and approve it.
It really depends if Mary can even get it done by the 31st. She said she's going to try. So she was just here on Tuesday. So.
No problem, even if we hold the meeting on March 31st, even if the board review the audit, then she's got to go back to the office
And
so it's still going to be a couple of days late.
Right, but I think we as a board, we won't meet until the end of the month.
Right, we can try to hold a special meeting if we get it like the first week of the month. Can we still do a Zoom?
as of right now, we can still do Zoom.
Can we?
They extended the,
I asked Joe the other day. I haven't heard back from him, and we haven't gotten anything. Usually they send us an email.
We have to approve that audit, correct?
Yeah.
We could do 10 minutes soon.
Yeah.
So the other thing that came up was we had a tree come down on the rail yard property and hit a neighbor's fence. And we had somebody go out and look at it, because obviously it's an act of God, so that insurance won't cover it, our insurance won't cover it, their insurance won't cover it. It was like $350.
No, the branch came down on the fence. We haven't gotten the bill yet for him, because it took him 10 minutes to do. All he had to do was just chainsaw the branch up and take it off.
I'm talking about
Repairing the fence will be $325. So, and he can just repair it. He doesn't have to put in a whole new fence. So he can do it by the end of the month because he doesn't have to put any new holes in the ground.
Who
So,
is he?
I'm sorry, Oneana Fence, Steve Fitzgerald.
So the other thing is, and then I told him to go ahead and have it prepared so that he doesn't scream at us.
Yep.
The other thing that we did.
What's the property?
I was gonna say, where's the?
It's on Schaefer Ave. So it's off Chestnut Street. So the back of their yard borders the rail yard. So the tree came down. It mostly, luckily, fell in the rail yards. It was just the branch.
So I had a similar problem in Amsterdam where it seemed like every tree limb would come down and hit somebody's home. I didn't know the trees were that close to the property,
Yeah, they are.
but they are. So we also had somebody go out and look at surveying the trees along the perimeter, and he
Four of the trees.
the cost would be about $6,000.
So obviously I would get another bid on it.
So is he taking down Langham there, taking down Home Way, taking down Chipping? What is the scope of what he's gonna do as far as what's involved in taking down the trees? He's gonna remove them. I think it'd be down, I know there's different ways you can do it, and I've chosen wrong a few times, so. And that's money to clean up, so, just so we don't, so you understand, we all understand what was done when he's done. Is it?
He put cleanup in the
Okay.
estimate I have.
And who is he again?
Control Cut Tree Service, he's the one who went and did the branch for me. He did one at my house, so that's how I used to work with him.
Services around, we can get.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's on.
Yeah, and I'll get more. Yep, I just wanted him, he was out there and he did that tree limb, so I figured while he was
Yeah.
there, he could take a look around. He sent pictures as well. You can't really tell where they're gonna fall, but, and I don't know what.
It's $1,500 a tree,
Yeah.
and that's all steep.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah, no, I'll get.
Well, while due diligence note doesn't hurt.
Right.
Right? So we get 2 or 3 bids. My question was, how many times have we had a tree limb fall and have to pay for something? Is this the first time?
Yeah.
So 6,000 against $300 in the last 20 years? I mean, we can do it if we really want to clean it up, but I don't know.
That's almost 20 fence repairs.
I mean, I don't know if we have trees that,
And is he
what
recommending it?
the analysis is, do you have trees hanging over someone's building?
Right.
That's a different
I was
deal.
gonna say, is
But
he
if
doing
it's
it 'cause
all
of-
yard and fences, it's.
Yeah, that was the problem in Amsterdam. They did a house.
Yeah, this is just a fence, and her yard is pretty far back from her house, so hitting the fence made sense. I don't know if a tree, but I also haven't been down there, so I don't know what tree. I keep sending pictures of the trees, but from the picture, I can't tell what they would hit doing this stuff.
And is that what he's recommending because of the potential risk of
Yes.
a tree falling, not because they're dead or anything like that, just the
He
risk
said,
of them
I
falling?
guess
and
he
or-
didn't say if they were dead or not. He said they were dangerous trees, that they could fall and potentially.
Aren't all trees dangerous?
Yeah, yeah.
They fall.
Right.
So another, like, Lord of the
I
Rings.
think I get a second.
I'd say 3 massive cherry trees taken down. All the limbs chipped.
I think he said
It
cherry.
was $2,000.
Oh.
Yeah, so
I will get another.
Okay, I have a couple.
Couple.
first I spent like 3 months cutting up the trunks for firewood, got 10 cords of firewood out of it. That's nothing. Anyway, I think 6 is probably double what we would.
Okay.
have to pay.
And I agree with Jeff, we should see what's the exploding, how big is the risk? You know, we can afford to pay for one of these every 5 years and be money ahead. Or if it's really bad, we should do something, like maybe even limit the ones that are hanging over, and so
Yeah.
it falls, or whatever, there's things we could do.
I'd rather spend the money actually going down, because I go down that road quite a bit, so I did look and see behind the house in that area. I would just rather clean that all up, I mean, in terms of.
Well, that's like, it's like, when I think of the longer term vision for the rail
Exactly. I mean,
yards,
if you have
right, like,
something
yeah.
that looks, presentable, you get perspective, right? fires going down, they're like, oh, okay, this is pretty cool. It's nice, it's clean, it's
Yeah,
not, not full of
It's
trash.
not ready for prime time in its current condition.
No. And the winter time's the best time to drive down. You can actually see it all and see, like, yeah, okay.
Okay, more to come, right?
Yeah.
We'll talk
Yeah.
about this and
Send that to us.
anything else?
The only other big things on the agenda, I'd like to do an executive session.
Okay. We need to discuss potential financial issue with one of our borrowers and then a property sale. Is that what that's the purpose?
Yes.
Two separate items. Okay. We have a motion to get into executive session.
So moved.
Second. Thank you. All those in favor?
Aye.
Can we
Yeah, I can hit unrecord.
pause the
This conference will now be recorded.
All those in favor?
Tell me in a second.
We're out.
That was to get out of executive.
Yeah.
So if I could just hit something.
Motion to adjourn.
Thank you. Yeah.
Right.
No, we don't have any actions coming out of the session, so I think we are complete with the Audit Finance Committee meeting. Can I have a motion to adjourn?
I think that's all you need,
We're
right?
good.
Yeah.
Thank you.
All right, we'll move into the project committee meeting. I will forego the chairman's comments. We'll move into the meeting minutes of February 1st. Does anyone have any questions or comments or changes on those? Not, I will take a motion.
So moved.
Second.
Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Moving into the project trackers, just as a heads up, I sent a communication to Jody to make sure we get these updated so that they're reflecting 2022 phase and that we have clear milestones and understanding where our milestones are at. I know it's getting a little bit kind of hard to read, but with that, Jody, I'll let you walk us through the Oneonta Rail Yards, which we just had a pretty good conversation on in the finance committee meeting. Anything additional you want to add there? We've got a potential buyer. I'll put that in for the purpose of these notes, as well as some new and unfinished business that we'll hit on that as well.
No, I think the last two interviews is pretty self-explanatory. I don't think we have to go into any great detail on it. I
Anyone?
will be asking to sit down with you.
Okay.
Probably next week sometime. Maybe we can, mind meld on it.
Run through and clean these up a little bit. Sounds good.
One of the things that I noticed when I was is that they are getting really cumbersome in the sense that you gotta scroll down like 8 pages of what.
Just the control end. They should see that.
I will point out that Greg has the history of it.
Yeah, I think the history is still really important to make sure we're maintaining. We might want to flip, we can always flip the table. Not that I want to do that now, but so that you're having the most recent entries at the top. I think the history is really important as you bring on new board members to be able to kind of cipher through all that has taken place on the project. So that's why I do think it's important to keep the log, whether we archive that or want to do something to separate that. That's something we can talk about.
Okay, and then on Richfield Springs, that's actually finally getting some movement. It's made a formal request tonight to provide over for the natural gas. And one of the most amazing things was we did get cost estimates, low usage from Cindy and Della, both gas and electricity. So she's interested in wanting to pursue this.
And well, we're in 2022. Have any financing indications?
I'm sorry.
The financing for her, from their perspective.
I think the financing from her perspective is that she basically hasn't done anything yet. Even though she said she was, I don't think they really have a sense of how they're constructing her finance her building. She claims that the original reason that she really stopped it is that we weren't sure, she wasn't sure whether we're gonna have water and sewer there, or natural gas, and that it's difficult for them, a bank, to say, we'll make a loan to you for property.
In all fairness, we don't have an industrial, functioning industrial park to move into. So I don't disagree with her understanding. I mean, or a bank making a firm decision based on something that doesn't exist yet. So I don't, personally, I don't think she's been unreasonable. I mean, her hurrying, I wouldn't be hurrying if I was her. Get your stuff, you know, we're really, otherwise you're looking at somebody who says, would you make a commitment to me and we'll have your building ready in about 3 years. Most businesses today are looking to do something today or tomorrow, not wait. And I think we're doing our waiting. I know I was at a meeting up at her place a couple of weeks ago and our production manager talking about how much longer it takes to do because they've got to move out of the way because they don't have enough room, you know, and they're busy in production. So that part of it, that pulverizer business is working pretty well, as is its glass. But they really, her people too, really want to get moving. Some and think that their productivity will really increase.
We talked about obviously 22 being a kind of separating, if you will, the building from the infrastructure and really focusing on 22 on the infrastructure. So that's, I think, the other thing we.
So the other thing that's happened is that Kurt Shelby indicated that he really has expertise in water and sewer agreements. So he asked Joe Scott to take over to finish up the agreements. Joe talked to the town attorney and the village attorney, and he expects to have those ironed out within the next couple of weeks.
Okay, great.
The other big issue was that Mark Parker, Keystone, reached out to Barton and Judy to inform them that they are done with final designs. They're ready to go to bid.
Great.
That seems to be moving along. Any new obstacles or challenges that you're seeing on that point in time, again, as it relates to the infrastructure?
What EDA has told us is that we'll have to come back to them and ask for an extension of the real time.
Because that, yeah, both of the grants on these have expired technically,
No,
based on
no,
the date we
neither
have.
one has expired. We just got the signed contracts for Empire State Development last month. And I've informed them that the date is going to move, but I think right now we have a sale, projected completion date is October of 2022. I've emailed them.
So December 9th, 2021 is when that grant expires.
Well, that's my report. I will.
Okay.
The Keystone is good news because
Yeah.
you're entering the spring construction season here very quickly. So they get out to bid and somebody can get mobilized and get going.
Yeah, and the nice thing to having Martin Lejudas actually pushing this is that there's somebody who's pushing our engineering firm. There's also somebody, they're aware of all the EDA requirements. It says we have to be out to bid for 2 months. It's not like you can do it 3 weeks. So they're actually putting together the time frame and they'll submit that to EDA for approval. So that's really a godsend having that firm.
Yeah, so you're looking at awarding a bid in June, maybe.
Yes, that's actually what we're hoping to be able to do.
The other thing they do is they contact potential contractors ahead of time to let them know this is coming.
Yes.
Because this is late for a lot of the major firms. They usually have an entire season of construction already lined up.
We can actually, we'll post it on our webpage, and there's a lot of firms that look at IDA webpages and disseminate the information to their
This is not a giant construction project.
No.
That's the good news.
Just one that you fit in.
All right, any other questions on the project trackers? All right, move to the director's report. Anything you'd like to highlight there, Jody, or any questions anyone have?
I guess the big news is systematic power systems, IOPS. We did have attended the town board meeting last night. And we held a public hearing on it, which actually lasted about 45 minutes. I was surprised. They had a lot of questions. After the public hearing closed, they voted unanimously to authorize the grant application for IOPS to the Office of Community Renewal. So we'll start working on that once we finish everything that we have for the reports that we have to get done for the state. Also, we did have a kickoff meeting on NYSERDA grant and Rambo Engineers. Rambo Engineers actually is working on 3 different grants. One is with the State University of Oneonta, one is with the City of Oneonta, and the other is with us. So we had a joint meeting of all 3 of us, a Zoom meeting this week, where we discussed the parameters and how we're going to try to maybe look at a common solution to all 3 as opposed to 3 individual solutions. And basically, what it is, Rambo Engineers is looking at the feasibility of installing a geothermal heat system around both the downtown, the college, and the rail yards. And Al Rubin obviously is aware of that as well. He said this group is interested in partaking. The only other real news is right now, I did get a call from, an email from Norba Solar. They're planning a solar development. They just wanted to, they originally thought I was applying for it. Know about county review. I said, well,
On the roof of the NYCM building?
Yeah.
Right. Have they, is there any indication of the scope of this, you know?
no, I'll reach out to him now. I have his email and find out. It just came up.
I'm guessing they've lined up some property.
Yeah, I would imagine if they're already.
Yeah, and you know, the scope of these becomes an issue. 10 acres is not really gonna create much of a backlash, but these, you know, the 3,000 acre proposal for West Lawrence created huge issues. So I'm interested to hear the scope of this. Yeah.
And placement.
The last thing I want to bring up is we did receive a draft pilot application from Robert Hickey regarding his Cooperstown Experience project.
Yeah.
Didn't put it because it's like,
Yeah, but you sent it, right? I read it, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I was like, I'm not reading all of this.
So like Corning and like Josh's project and like the company from New Jersey, he's saying, I need this approval by within 2 weeks. I can't wait. I'm out the bid. I'm getting my financing in place and then I gotta go to construction. And I told them we just can't do that. We have to actually go through our, and Joe Scott is getting. That we just have to go through our normal procedures.
Yeah.
Once we get a full application, bring it to the board.
Yeah.
They'll have to set up.
Let me ask you this, since this has come up a number of times, people getting ahead of themselves, is there a better way for us to disseminate where we fit in development? I mean, we can get a product knowledge over time and make other mistakes, and other people complain to each other, and someday everybody will know. But is there a way to get ahead of this? Or who do you tell? Make banks aware if people are buying money? Where do we inject the information in someone's preparation so that we can let them get ahead of it before?
There's 2 ways of doing that. I think one is put a information blog on our webpage about the process. There really isn't a description of the process, what you have to go through. The second thing, and probably more importantly, because nobody looks at it.
I was gonna say, you gotta, I mean, like, if you're already thinking about the webpage, you're probably already like, I can contact you and find out the process, right? I'm already aware to some
There
extent.
should be a cover sheet with our application that explains. the
Yeah.
process.
But also, they get that when they apply for the pilot. If they're already under movement, it's too late. I mean, if he's got all the stuff together and somebody said you should get a pilot now, I mean, it's almost like a culture has to develop where people, in a place that's got a lot of development, everybody knows to do this.
Right.
Because it's normal here, you know, and
Well, here we're dealing with people that have never done it before.
exactly correct.
Like the housing group out of Albany that came to approach us, they knew exactly how to do the process. Because they've done it before. And Bob Hickey had it, Josh had it, you know, the guy from New Jersey had it. Warning should.
Yeah.
So when you meet with him and he says, oh, I got everything, I'm worried, you got a very, 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 what are you getting? Are you getting evidence that he's right?
What, yes, to a certain extent, he is correct in the sense that he's had to go out and actually bid this construction piece so we can take that to the bank and say, these are my real estimates.
Right.
And he says, so, and you're asking me on your application, what's the cost of construction, what's the cost of excavate, you know, so I need those numbers in order to put them into your application.
Does that, okay, for me, where are you gonna put it? Is it information we spend time with local bank departments where when somebody's going for his financing, somebody there says, hey, you know, are you looking at a pilot or something? Somebody's gotta interrupt what's gonna happen. He's looking to get it all done and then look for a pilot. And somewhere upstream, there has to be something to trigger him looking for it or what, understanding.
It would seem like the bank financing is really the only logical step.
Well,
Right?
yeah, 'cause
Everyone's
that
gonna go
takes time.
through that,
There's
right?
some time to go before it's gonna get done.
Right.
So to me, you know, if we could talk to loan officer somehow, that might be the one place where everybody's gonna go is to get some money and maybe
Yeah.
we communicate with them somehow. I mean, I don't know if there's a network or I don't know. Maybe it's not possible. It just seems like we could get ahead of it.
Well, you don't-
Now.
So I get, you know, the whole theory is where do you interject? Where are you in the process and how do you know, we have thousands of applications
I'm sure you do.
and they come in and they, you know, they don't, a customer doesn't necessarily come in and go, I'm applying for a pilot. You know, they come in and go, here's my, you know, we tell them what we need. We look at the analysis, we look at the industry, you know, the market, we look at their all of their historical finance, all that stuff. And make an assessment of whether the project, we feel like the project's good. They don't tell us that there's a pilot or they don't tell us.
My question would be, is it at all reasonable to have in that interview a question on you, or are you applying for a pilot? Just so the topic never comes up until somebody's ready to go and trying to close the gap.
Yeah, that's what happened.
Quite often they have this much money and this big a project, and if I can get a pilot, I can make this whole equation work. And that's what drives them to it. So maybe it's not fixable, won't fix it this morning, but you know, it's,
Well,
we can't hurry because we
Put
have.
together a trifold brochure that no one's ever
Yeah,
gonna
trifolds,
read and
yeah.
put it in the bank.
here's an example with Mr. Hickey's project. He submitted the application. I went out and met with him last week, I think it was, and went through all the deficiencies in his application. One of them being that it doesn't, we have a section on there, what is your expected real property tax? What's your sales tax? What's your mortgage reporting tax? He's like, well, I don't know what my mortgage reporting tax waiver will be. Like, well, it's 0.75% of your mortgage, so just put that number down. When it comes to the assessment on the real property tax, he's like, well, I said, I can make a guess at what it's gonna be, but it's gonna be a guess, and it could be wrong, and therefore your benefits that you're gonna get from the IDA may be substantially less than what we told you that we think it's gonna be. So go talk to the assessor, give me your plans and your construction estimates, and say, what do you think you're gonna reassess my property for? So 2 days ago, he emailed me, I asked him again if he got those numbers, he emailed me the assessor's phone number.
You know, his problem is not just the application, his problem is inquiry about a pilot is about 4 or 5 months late.
Yeah.
That's
what I'm saying.
so the question is, how does a guy like that,
And how much time do we basically do on providing numbers to him that he should?
So I do think there's a piece potentially, right, is being empathetic to the idea that they don't know what they don't know and they don't know what they're doing. I think there could be opportunity for us to create, I think, like you say, the cover letter, but a clear process of exactly like a checklist for them of what they need to do and how they need to get the information that they're asking questions on. Like your normal person is not going to know this is what I need to do or that this is what the mortgage reporting tax is. So if we can provide some kind of how-to guide or some kind of here's the steps, this is what you need to do before you come to us with this application, these are the steps you need to take. It could be something that's beneficial that guides them through the process. It doesn't solve the problem of interjecting at the right time, but maybe.
No, and we'll certainly do that. That makes sense. The problem is that when I call an assessor, when I used to call the city assessor, he would never return my call.
Well, and I think that shouldn't be your job either, right? Like the relationship is between the borrower and the assessor and you, but I think if there's clear, like you need to contact your assessor and get this information and return that, right? Then it's very clear their role, your role, and what needs to be done.
yeah, Jody's role is to be assisted,
Exactly.
not to make contact with the
Yeah,
assessor.
you're not doing the
I
application
think,
for them.
I think somewhere down the road, somehow we have to figure, are you are you planning a project, blah, blah, blah. If you believe that your project may be eligible for pilot through the Otsego County Special Development Agency, you know, but where do you put that out so that people
Yeah.
see it? Where are they gonna go to see that? I have no idea where, you know.
Well, I think we got some interns coming, right? You can work with them on how to make that happen.
Not to change
I'm
something.
sure other IDAs have that.
Next Sam
I
is
think we're the only idea.
That's
allegedly
the problem, right? Could
starting
reach out to other ideas.
Yeah.
construction in the spring.
They go for way more.
I've reached out to them 3
Yeah.
times.
Who is this? Who'd you say?
Next Sam's doing a 10-acre solar project up on the Hardwick Slope.
Yeah, yeah.
Just curious as to what their timeline is, because I think they're originally thought they were gonna start. And their start to finish is pretty short as far as the charges.
Well, I'll reach out to them again and see what's going
No
on.
big deal.
Did we close
I
the
have a
loop on,
feeling they just don't want to do a pilot because they don't want to pay for fees.
which is fine?
Why would they go through the city process?
They're up in Boston, so I don't know where there's, finance.
So we close the door on the Hickey conversation as well, and
What-
that
what-
he just needs to finish his application, and we're gonna follow our process.
Yeah, I looked at what was distributed online. I mean, it's a lot of blanks on
Yeah.
that. I mean, what I saw, the only number I saw was, it was 160,000 for sales tax relief on 2 million of purchases.
Just throw two,
22.
just throw two concepts. in. Okay. One, when you're doing that much work for somebody who can't figure it out, you have to question the project.
Legitimate.
Yeah, you have to question whether the person has the expertise to execute on the project. Okay, that aside, I get everybody's not an expert. But number two, we don't need you chasing shiny things.
Yeah,
And to what degree, and I'm throwing this on the table, to what degree do we want to know the financial viability of somebody before you're going to spend a lot of time with them? And if you tell me, well, they can't get it done without the pilot, then it ain't gonna work.
right.
So we have to, I think you gotta think about those things when you're talking about this process and how you address it. Not saying I don't have a clear vision of that, but we've done in the multiple years I've been here, we chase so many things and spend so much time on stuff that is financially unviable.
Mhm.
It is a waste of time.
Okay, well, I'm
You've
glad
been
you
hanging around
brought
me
that
too
up
long, Jeff.
because one of the reasons
I probably have.
met with him last week was that he started yelling at me that, well, you've been here for last year and you told me that, what the process was. And I thought this, and he goes, aren't you here to help me? And nobody from the IDA wants to see this project happen. And so that's.
And by the way, those comments were not an indictment of him. I don't know him. I don't know him. I don't know his financial. I'm not saying anything about him. I'm saying just in general.
So one of the reasons I tend to agree with you, I don't think he has the expertise to carry this through. Now.
Which doesn't necessarily, right, in the end, impact us. It's just realizing that you can't handhold with 2 people in the office with other
You're not
priorities.
his developer.
Right,
Exactly
right.
correct. And in the end, it may be that the reality is everybody's gonna be frustrated about how long it takes to get things done through government. I mean, they want the pilot right now because they got to hurry, but they can't because it takes this long. They haven't come to us. It
Yeah.
takes this
Well,
long.
if it's in a hurry to that end, show me your commitment.
Correct.
Show me your term sheets and your commitment from your financing so that I understand that you really are, you're ready.
The difference being, I think, when we're dealing with custom electronics expansion, it's a legitimate business with the scope of what they're doing and understand business and what has to come. This is an entrepreneur with an idea, and dreamers are great because they get things done. But I go back to my old friend Billy Fusillo, who was a crazy man, but his right here, every day, all day was his CPA, keeping him straight, picking up the messes, making sure all his ideas, nothing got lost. Okay. And I have somebody who I keep pretty much right here. She smacks me upside the head, makes sure my details are done. It gets me out of trouble, and I need that person, and this guy needs somebody who's getting his ducks in a row. And he, once again, dreamers don't, visionaries don't, that's an inconvenience. You're slowing me down. Unfortunately, for us to get it to work in an order and through a banking government, it has to be right. So somewhere, somebody needs that person who makes order out of order out of chaos.
Just to, back to Jeff's point, next hand, just walked away from the file. If they didn't want to pay fees,
Right.
that tells you financially, there's no issue.
Right.
Who cares? Not gonna make a difference in how we're doing this operation, because it's not their first operation.
They know what they're doing. They know
They've
what
been
it
doing
is.
this and they've got things going all over the place. Anyway, okay.
Okay.
That works better.
Okay. So we'll close the chapter on that. Moving into new and unfinished business. I did have it on your director's report, but it's here as well, is the Oneana soccer lease.
So I reached out to the soccer club about renewing the lease. They asked that they do want to renew the lease. It is a 5-year lease. They're hoping that we would make an amendment to the lease to include possible repairs to the field water maintenance systems. They don't foresee any issues, however, it would be costly and the system is original to the campus. So that is the condition that they would like in the lease.
That IDA would be responsible.
Yes, should something happen, IDA.
Have,
We own that.
have we determined that we're not already responsible?
We have not.
I feel like the last lease, we turned over everything to them. We put them on for all infrastructure and
We just did a roof.
We did
They
the,
didn't do the roof.
I thought major,
I feel like the last lease,
well, that's what we have to
yeah,
look
we
at.
probably should double check that. Because I feel like we kind of were like, we wanted to be hands off to that stuff, including the building.
Yeah, but I mean, we just paid for a new roof on that building.
Is that covered under insurance though?
No, it was just, it was a worn out shingle
Okay.
roof. We just re-roofed it with metal. Well, on top of the shingles, didn't we do fence repair?
Mhm.
Yes.
Yeah,
So
we did.
whatever that understanding is, if that was finished, then we just violated it twice. So can we clarify that? Whether,
Yeah,
whether we,
yeah.
I mean, we own the fields. My guess is we own the infrastructure. So let's find out.
But we had specifically returned a bunch of stuff over to them in the last lease.
Yeah, let's find out.
Because we didn't want to take.
I thought there was some level, like,
Like we gave, they had the bleachers, we gave them a sort of thing, like,
and they paid
let's
the
get
water
a, yeah, let's get a legal assessment on exactly what.
Exactly.
The other, in that vein, if we're going to be responsible for the repair, who's paying for the maintenance?
Well, that's why we gave it to them, because they're responsible for the maintenance, right? So it didn't make sense for us to be on the hook
Yeah, I mean,
ultimately.
if they
if
don't
we
blow
weren't
it out in the
responsible for
winter time and it
maintenance.
freezes and breaks, and we got to repair it.
Correct.
Take care of it, you know.
Right. Plus we don't know how well they're maintaining it.
Exactly,
Yeah,
and that would be that they weren't.
But the other side of it is if it was a bad problem, you know, there's no way they're going to live through it. They lose a field or something. I mean, it's so
Yeah, I mean,
expensive.
it's a scale, regular maintenance. Where does that end?
Right,
Where does infrastructure repair?
right.
Clearly, we thought that the re-roofing was not regular maintenance, that was an infrastructure issue. But I agree, let's find out exactly where we stand, so we know.
who do you deal with at the site?
Vince and Brett. Vince Lund, it's Brett Buzzy.
Okay, thanks.
I wasn't around this area when that was, Bill, it's an original system, what does that mean? Is that 20 years, 25 years? Anybody know?
Wow, I don't remember.
More than that,
Yeah.
Goes
I
back,
was playing on them in high school, so.
You were playing with her in high school?
Mhm.
When did you graduate?
I don't want to do the math.
So
I graduated in '97, so.
yeah, it goes
Oh,
back
wow, okay,
to the early 90s. Yeah.
yeah.
it would be normal to see some maintenance coming in here, you know, a lot of things.
So I'll have an answer for the board and then you guys can
Okay.
decide then what you want to do, because they're already, I mean, I signed my son up for soccer, so there's.
They're still planning to use them, yeah, and I think we can in good faith allow that.
Were you
to
thinking
use.
about your graduate from high school or both do it? And so Jim and I were in our late 40s.
That's
That's all I know. So.
I just wanted to mention one thing about the lease. This conversation about the water system. I mean, if you, regardless of what the determination is, I would just point out that, you know, they're a small organization with very limited financial resources. So if if there was a significant maintenance cost with the water system, there really is no, in my opinion, no possibility they're going to be able to pay for it. So, you know, I mean, we should just be keep that in mind. I think probably unrealistic to really expect them to pick up something of significant infrastructure.
I would agree with
I think that
that.
was the basis of what we did in the lease.
Yeah.
Trying to keep some low-end maintenance things their responsibility, but the bigger stuff was infrastructure was ours.
They do a great job in the fields too. They keep getting.
Yeah, they're doing what we want.
Yeah, and what I think with that too is, once we have clarity on that, is making sure that we understand from a property owner standpoint, are we doing our due diligence on the maintenance on the infrastructure? So like I look at a water system that's been in there since the 90s, we probably should have somebody at least reviewing it, inspecting it, making sure that there aren't any faults in it or issues.
Maybe we should have a board work day down there. What do you think?
So the other thing that we've got to look at, please, is that Jeff, Joyner this morning brought up the issue of putting up a dome on site.
He brought up the issue, like, is
Does he have
there
a dome in the
somebody, I know, is
backyard
there
he wants to-
somebody that's looking to put up a dome? We're not gonna put up a dome.
Trying to get the group out of town of Maryland to put it up for free.
Town of where?
Maryland.
Actually, I think it'd be Worcester.
Worcester.
Yeah.
Worcester is it?
Lutheranville Road, Worcester.
Yeah.
He's trying to get
I was
Tom
up
to
there once.
Hall of
I
Fame.
lost faith.
I grew up there.
He
He didn't
wants-
turn around for a week and a half.
That's true.
That area in front of the concessions where they have the picnic area in there or the tables, they put up like a tent. That's where the dome would come right out there. That's,
So to go across the two main fields?
no, it'll be a separate entity for indoor soccer.
He said there would still be two fields. He said they take up the worst,
Technically.
the worst
It would take up the
We're
worst.
talking about a turf field inside.
inside.
So taking Cheryl's lead, I said, Jeff, go for it.
Yeah, I mean, bring a proposal.
Yeah, I guess they would operate it, construct it, operate it, and, you know.
Yeah, that's, I mean, I definitely don't think like what we talked about, and why we've done what we've done with Oneana, is we don't want to operate a soccer facility. That's not our forte. So,
Really,
we
for
need to have-
us, if somebody came along and wanted to develop the rest of it, buy it.
And maintain it as soccer fields, absolutely, yeah.
Standalone business, really, we're maintaining it, keep it going. It's good for the area, good for the kid. I mean, it's all
Yeah.
good.
Yeah,
And it's something we should do, but down the road for it ever to be developed into what maybe it could be, I'd like to risk somebody else's money.
yeah.
My only concern on a dome is somebody vandalizes it when nobody's around.
That's
But
what you
they have to carry insurance, I guess.
Exactly.
Yeah, once again, it's where we live in.
No worries.
And I think any worries about the dome are a few years down the road.
Yeah. I would stay awake tonight.
No, definitely.
Okay, and then we already talked about, Robinson Construction's proposal for the rail yards. The only other thing I just wanted to mention today, to make sure there's any questions or what next steps are on the Acceleration Center, the Innovation Center. You sent out the proposal, the kind of background and all this, and I guess I'm just kind of, where are you at with that? Where are we at with that? I'm still, I guess, overarching. I know we're still going for some
Okay, so where we
grant.
are, we did send that concept to USDA World Development.
Okay,
The other thing that hopefully the grant application is due in April. Hopefully the first week in April, I'll be able to do a real quick on the operating costs of the building and seeing if the rest really will support the operations, because
Okay.
I move ahead of purchasing a building and find out it's money needs.
so I just
I
also
don't
want to
think
point
it-
out that IDA is taking on a lot of the responsibility for the running of the center, and so just wanted to make sure we're all clear on that.
You, just to piggyback on that, you had a conversation, or you were in a meeting with a conversation with the new president, Tony Oneana,
Yes,
who has a lot of experience in that area.
yes, he held a leadership breakfast last week.
That's
Spent so much time.
Yeah.
And actually, Patricia was there as well as Jeff joined us. There were 8 of us that were there. And he brought up again the whole concept of the Innovation Acceleration Center, his interest in wanting to be part of that. Now, I don't know how much of that is just because it's the thing to say right now, but he has that experience, and they did do it in Stroudsburg. He built an innovation center there. I asked him 3 weeks ago if we could sit down on the discussion, and he said he would have his chief of staff arrange a meeting. I contacted her, and she said she'll get back to me, and I still have to
Pursue. The question I would have, if that he's had experience setting one up, running one, sustaining one, if it were me, and all I'm gonna do is I stole from somebody else, before we went all the way in on deciding to buy this building, my curiosity would be with him, what did you see work best? In other words, would it be more flexible long-term to build a building and do it there, or to buy this, as opposed before we make that commitment? He's got ideas and can bring expertise and some connections to make it functional. Operational aspects of things are what always I find the most challenging, but set it up right.
That's a good question. So he said when they built the facility in Stroudsburg, they overbuilt it and it sat vacant for.
Okay, so I mean, I guess if he's been through that, I'd like his insight on whether this is the facility that you would want to do that. Don't you think?
Yeah, it sounds like it would be a good partner and someone to collaborate with.
As long as he's for real doing the things he says he's doing.
Yeah.
Really, he's committed.
And possibly maybe running the center.
Well, so I mean, I think
Yeah.
my bottom line when I look at this, I still feel like there's a ton of risk for the IDA here.
Yeah.
And there's
Yeah,
really
absolutely.
while there's a lot of great partnerships and collaborative kind of stakeholders, there's no one else on the hook here. So again, my still big fear is if Custom Electronics walks away, Bioxis walks away, we're left holding the bag with really no value add for these potential tenants. So that is just the way it's structured, the way it's outlined, and the way I read it. That is something that jumped off the plate at me very clearly.
Well, if SUNY is interested, we'll see how much skin in the game.
Right, that's what I'm saying. So if we can get some other partners that are kind of really
Be a true
invested in it, exactly.
A long-term commitment, something that's not going to change with the next president.
Exactly.
Well,
I mean,
that's a
Exactly.
we have
legal
continuity,
question,
but
yeah.
I think he made a comment, didn't he, about presence in downtown?
I was gonna have a presence downtown, although when I emailed a couple of weeks ago, I said, how would you like the building that's supposed to us? And he never got back.
That's another story altogether. Yeah.
Patricia's asking if we have a property to find.
The other,
No, we don't have one, we haven't picked it yet, for definitely, there's just options, right?
Do you want to share those options?
I think Tom also raised with me last couple of days ago is the concern that what happens if with Custom Electronics, for example, is there a succession plan?
Right. Yeah.
Just because he's gonna know about it.
Doesn't mean the next guy is.
Well, conceptually, you have all these partners, and the partners end up becoming tenants, right? In the facility, regardless of where the facility is, they become tenants. So,
Well, they wouldn't necessarily become tenants.
with the startups that
They're helping.
aren't they,
So like,
they're not saying a master lease that,
I'm not getting that. Maybe I'm misunderstanding. So for
I'm
me,
more-
custom,
I'm
like
asking-
using custom as an example is just there to lend expertise. They're not actually going to have any dollars in the building, in the programming, in the center. Am I accurate in saying that?
That's correct. What they're bringing to the table is about $60,000 a year in technical services.
So they're essentially saying, hey, we're going to be a partner and we're going to provide this service for you for free. But my risk is that if they walk away from that or the next successor says, we don't want to do that anymore,
okay.
we don't have any expertise now to lend to these.
Somebody had, okay,
Entrepreneurs.
count that as a suggestion that some form of long-term contract or lease where there's a set commitment, and if they break it, there's a fee.
Yes.
Just-
Something, I don't know,
Something.
yeah, something that puts kind of some skin in the game from those partners that we're going to rely on to make this successful.
So if I'm understanding the major concept is, to our idea, people come and we help you launch your idea into a product that's ready for manufacturing. And
Yeah, then I'll have to review the materials, but yeah, you have those idea people, dreamers that you talked about earlier, and this is a low cost site for them. And if that dream takes off, then they
now they can
get into
either,
another building.
they can either take it to manufacturing if they have resources,
Right.
or then Oxygen or Custom Electronics I was there, I said, it's good, bring me an idea, get it all fine. Okay, let me help you with that. Here's
Yeah.
some money, and now I got another product. It's all good.
Yeah.
As long as it works. but understanding when they have a product for market, they can also take it any place. There might be more cost-effective places to manufacture things, so
Yep.
that's the other, that's why somebody's got to have money besides us in it, going in.
Right.
To sustain it, and I think Suco would be a great, partner or lead agency, whatever, I mean, I don't know how that.
Plus there are plenty of opportunities for their students.
Yeah, correct, yeah.
Yeah.
Internships and all of that.
Putting
Again,
the
I think it
cart-
all hinges on the expertise provided by Custom and IOPSIS,
Well,
right?
yes.
And we'd have to find other resources if they were to walk away from it, like to help these entrepreneurs to
Well,
help.
we had this discussion at that leadership breakfast. The president of Hartwick said, why don't you approach Corning? And maybe they would actually help finance it. So that's one of the other things we're gonna reach out to, because they do talk about expertise, so they have.
Yeah,
Understanding the conversation at this point has been electronic manufacturing, more that skew with Custom and IOPSIS. They're in a different field, which would be great if they.
Which would be great, yeah.
But I would understand if it wasn't part of their bailiwick, because they're something different.
There's
Or
like-
can they be involved and have enough of a seat at the table so they get what they need to get a benefit out of it? I mean, but that's why we talk to each other, find out what's going on. What can be.
Putting the cart back behind the horse. What is the grant requirement to even think about moving forward on this? How much money again are we looking at?
We can apply for up to $2 million. They will pay 80%, I think it is.
yeah,
No grant, no concept, right?
Right.
yeah. So total cost is at 1.6.
Yeah.
And you're looking at a grant for 1.3.
It's not based on the potential acquisition, that's not a construction based.
Right.
Correct,
Construction number,
correct.
we could scale it down, that it'd be a much smaller building to bring it at $2 million price range.
We bought that extra property near the Pony Farm with the idea that if ever a siding could be added in or something else, in that part of it. So there's potentials to do this. If we were to sell the rail yard, depending on the sell price, it might generate some investment capital for us to do something someplace, and then keeping our options open as long as we can. It's certainly a good idea if you get launched and stay up, it will make a huge difference in the region.
So we need to cover our bases to keep that if a little
Yeah,
bit
well,
more
and-
sturdy.
And after this adventure, if it goes bad, the idea's got to still be functional and healthy.
Correct.
We're not dying on this hill. We got to keep
Keep
going.
following up with the guy that's been down this road before.
That's right.
Correct. Yeah.
Keep following up with the president who's been down this road before.
Do we, instead of city of the hills, we could be city of the hill?
Well, I was thinking if we could take out the first position, I think with the foothills, we could move there.
Yeah.
It's being recorded, right?
Plenty of space.
All right, is there any other new or unfinished business anyone would like to talk about? All right, if not, I'll take a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
After the group therapy session, I went through all